Hello everyone. I wrote a practice ROM, or maybe it's two practice ROMs combined. Um, One big feature is that it has a bunch of configuration options that you can control from within the game. The other feature is that um, it has very simple auto splits that you can configure based on either Bond's current room or on an objective completing. So you can set this up, and this will give you some immediate feedback in the session to figure out where you're losing time. So I'm going to start by going over the watch configuration options, then I'll show the splits in action, and then I'll finish up with some examples of the edit mode and how that works. All right, so first there's 5 new watch screens. These are kind of broken into broad categories. First is the romhack user interface. Then there's a screen for options directly relating to Bond, and then there's general options for everything else that's not related to Bond. Then the last few screens are for level specific settings. There's one for Frigate, and then the last screen is for everything else. So in detail, watch screen 6. This is the romhack user interface. So first off, you can turn the entire HUD on or off. It will still record splits, but they're just not shown on screen. Turning it off will save a few hundred microseconds, but the time difference shouldn't be anything noticeable. The next option is going to be to hide the splits in the actual HUD. So you'll have 3 rows in the HUD, 2 of them are for splits. You can turn that off and just show the mission timer. The next 2 options are to control where this is shown on screen, top, bottom, left, or right. And then the last 2 options are for showing the background color, changing the background color, or changing the text color. So the background, you can also switch that over to none for a transparent background. All right, watch screen 7. This is for Bond settings. First up, invincibility cheat. Next is the invisibility cheat, but this has been modified to also make you invisible for drone guns and the security cameras, and it um, allows the line of sight checks to proceed for uh, the NPC objectives. So like Val will see you in streets, that kind of stuff. Um, all right, so start pause. This is the number of times that you've paused whenever the level is loaded in. So you can turn that up a few times to, simulate a quick pause or something like that. Starting weapon is the item that Bond will be holding when the level starts. So it's in your inventory, but it's also equipped. So there's no need to switch. And it says starting weapon, but this also has other objective-based items. So like the data thief, the bug, that kind of stuff. And minor note, if you choose either the key analyzer or the Goldeneye key, it will add the other one to your inventory. The last option here is the body armor. This is just half body armor, full body armor, um, double or 10 times, and that's just set whenever you load into the level. Right, watch screen 8. This is for all the other general options. First up, you can turn guards on or off, and this will still load the objective NPCs like Val and Trev, even if you turn off the other guards. Um, Next up is guard death animations. So all guards will have the same death animation that you set from here. This is all the standard deaths plus the wall staggered death. I did try really hard to get the explosion deaths in here, but there's something missing from decomp that I just can't figure out. So those did not make it in. The animation names listed do come from decomp though, so hopefully that's more useful than just 1, 2, 3, and 4, that kind of thing. Next up, you can load doors or not, turn that on or off. Intro cinema. So if you scroll left, this will disable the cinema and you'll jump straight into the level after it finishes loading. Um, and if you scroll right, you can choose an option 1 through 6, intro cinema 1 through 6. This is just the index of how the setup defines the intros. And if you go and look at that, just keep in mind that the game iterates that in reverse order. Um, and then the other thing to note is that if there's more cinemas, if there's fewer cinemas than the option you have selected, it will just choose the highest available option. Okay, watch screen 9. This is all for Frigate. This is the target pad that the hostage will run to on release. So hopefully the the hostage names make sense. Agent is based on the traditional order. Number one is the first one you see when you open the door. Double O is based on the current double O order. So the number one hostage is going to be the guy with two captors, and then the second one's going to be the guy with only one. Um, so anything to do with locations and target pads and spawn points is, let's just call it experimental. So if you notice anything not working right, let me know. Watch screen 10, this is for all the other level settings. There's only a few levels here, but you can set the flight recorder for statue, um, and that's going to be the same as the target pads listed in the setup file in the same order, which also happens to be how the map on the wiki labels the points, and they're just labeled like 1, 2, 3, 4 on the wiki map. Same with Dr. Doak and facility. You can see his spawn pad, and this is listed in the same order on the wiki map um, as it is in the setup file in here. The last option is for streets, and so this will just toggle the guard spawns. They'll be uh, they'll use the regular RNG logic by default, or you can switch it over to always spawn with a grenade launcher. Okay, let me show you what the splits look like for practicing. Here it is in level. The top row is the most recent row target. Um, it shows what the target was. Um, the middle column is the absolute time that the target was achieved, and on the right is the difference from the absolute time. The next row is the upcoming target. So it's going to show you the absolute time the target has, and then we'll show you on the right the current difference to the target time. And the third row is the mission timer. So there's two split target types. The first is for the room. When Bond first enters the room for this target, it will auto split. The other target type is for an objective. So it will wait for the objective to complete and then auto split once that happens. So I probably need to change how the objective failure works. But anyways, the last split type is for end of level EOL. And this is handled automatically after the stage ends. You have to successfully complete all objectives for the end of level to count, which may or may not be ideal for practicing. Okay, here's the end screen. It shows the name of the current splits and some spawn information if that's different from default. The update RAM button is going to be disabled because this is a ROM split, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. Um, on the bottom, you can toggle between the absolute time and segment time with the R trigger, and you can scroll up and down with the C buttons. If you advance to the next screen, you can get back to the end screen with the B button. Yay! The difficulty select screen is where you choose which splits to use for practice. There's not much to choose from in this initial release, but every stage does have the option to use these RAM splits. And I named it RAM just to point out it's volatile, which I mean, it won't be saved if you turn off your console. Okay, let me transition to talking about making your own splits now. The RAM splits are what you'll work with. Um, if there are splits on the stage, you can copy one of those from ROM to RAM, and that's the to RAM button, or you can clear out your current RAM splits, and that's that X RAM button. If you copy from ROM to RAM or clear out RAM, either way, if you choose the RAM, you can toggle the RAM splits over to edit mode, um, from run mode into edit mode. So in edit mode, this is how you build your own splits. You set your targets. So you'll start out with a reduced HUD, and then you press the L trigger, and it will freeze the game like the start menu and bring up the expanded menu. Okay, so probably the user interface is not so intuitive. I included some help text to explain how this works. On the left is a list of split targets. You can scroll through those with C up and C down. For objective targets, you can scroll through the objectives with C left and C right. Below the list of split targets is Bond's current room. You can use the D-pad to change what kind of split you're adding. So you can add a room target, which is going to be the current room, or an objective target before or after the highlighted row. And you can also delete the currently selected row. And the other thing you can do is set the spawn point, or go to the spawn, or clear the existing spawn. So if it's not set, it will normally just say go to the spawn default, but after it's set, it will say, go to spawn pad number, whatever the pad was that you saved. And that's the only way to see that in the edit mode. Um, and the spawn location, like I said, it's sort of experimental. I would test this first to make sure it teleports you correctly and your game doesn't crash. Okay, that's really all you can do in edit mode. You can add or remove the room target or the objective target, and you can also set or clear the spawn point. So let me give you some quick examples of how you might use all this. Okay, just want to give a brief demo of setting up splits, how I did this for the existing SA 155. So switch over to edit mode, load the level, turn on visibility and invincibility to make my life easier. Alright, so there's nothing here, and we're going to start, make sure the spawn is set to the default value. Okay, so I'm going to add some targets here. We're in room 7, room 8's the first room, and probably the next one's not ideal. I think it'd be nicer to have something in a little bit different spot, but right here is the transition, room 8 to room 9. So we'll go ahead and add a target here for room 9. So whenever Bond goes into room 9, it will auto split there. The next target, it's I don't know what's worth it or not, but it's kind of up to you to define what's important. I'm going to say the transition into this room is another good spot. So there we go, room 9, room 15. Talk to Val. I think the next good point would be an objective. So if I switch over to insert objective before, you can add that. It's objective A, so I don't need to change anything. It might be good to add another position target, but I don't know. I'd be afraid of if you run in and out of the building, or if you're too late, or you're too good, and you get over here and the objective completes whenever you're in one of these rooms. I think that might mess up the splits. So I'm going to say the next good target would be maybe room 6. And that's just kind of what I did to go through all this, and I'm trying to get to insert after. There we go. So I'm not going to go through the whole level, but those are the steps. Walk around, figure out where the transitions are, what's a good point to set an auto split point for, and then add those as targets. So you see a few rooms, and objective A is in there, and then you go through the rest of the level. So let me quit out and do a quick playthrough. Yeah, so this is the initial setup. There's no target times. This is all edit mode. There's nothing to show. If we go back to run mode now, we can go through and start trying to figure out what those segment times are. I'm going to play through in 1.1 and just set the initial times just to get a feel for what this is going to look like. So we're looking for room 9 as the first target. Right around there. And then the next target would be room 15, which is the inside the building here. Alright, so there's the initial times. We'll take best and we'll copy over those segment times that are better than what's already there. There's nothing already there, so it's going to take all of them. The only thing it doesn't take is the mission timer because I didn't finish the level successfully. But there you go. You go through and iterate on that, play through, and each segment time that's better, you take those over, and you'll see that sum of best eventually fall down to something approaching the current world record. All right, so that's the simple splits tutorial. All right, maybe you don't care about any of the split stuff. You just want to practice Frigate 22. Let me show you what you do to set that up. Move the HUD in the top right. There's the splits disabled. We're going to need 2.3. We're going to want to set this to Cinema 1, and we're going to turn on the crosshair. All right. And there you go. Okay. I don't think I can get out of the boat. Okay, so let's try that again. The hostage did not escape. Hostage released. There you go. And then you just have to, you know, figure out how 2.3 works. All right, so another example. Let's see what it would take to practice the ending of train. So I think the best thing to do would be to spawn next to the locks. So in order to set the spawn point, we're going to have to be in edit mode. So I cleared out the RAM, set it to edit mode. I'm going to run to the end of the level and I'll set the spawn point there. I'm going to fast forward to the end. Okay, so there's going to be a couple of things to set up. As far as splits go, the only thing we need to do is set the spawn point. So I did that. Let's check to make sure. If I step over here, will it set spawn, go to spawn? If I click go to spawn, yeah, all right. So splits are set up. What we want to do for the level setup is, I think, turn off guards, because there's I'm not sure what's going to happen there. And we want to start with the watch laser. Start with the watch laser as the active item. Load guards off. Let's turn off the cinema. We're going to make this as quick turnaround between attempts as possible. And I think that's set up. Okay. So setup's done. I want to use the spawn point, which is back in run mode. Let's start it. That was so fast. I was not prepared. Okay, I turned off guards. I meant to turn off doors. Not a problem. Guards and doors are done. Let's reset. Oh my god, so fast. Okay. And then if you just reset, no cinema, instant load, not instant, but yeah, there's no zooming around with the camera. It's right there. So however you want to do this, yeah, practice is up to you.